an expert on it or the answer man to all things, but I do bring a lot of passion to it, and I'm excited about it. And don't be afraid if my voice starts rising and I get excited and start yelling. If you're not sitting in the front row, you probably won't get hurt.
I'm waiting for that.
Most people have survived most of all my sessions and talks. It started out, Transforming a Nation as Nehemiah, and it was a book that heavily guided and influenced a group of us in Nicaragua, and I've had the privilege to work with a group of people and through a center that we've affectionately named the Nehemiah Center that has a heavy focus on transforming Nicaragua. So what I do have to share is basically some of my experiences and the experiences of others that I've worked with. I've consulted with others in putting this together. And then, of course, tying it together with the Word of God, beginning in the Old Testament with Nehemiah. But I couldn't contain myself to just keep it in the Old Testament, so I kind of have renamed this. My title evolved into Transforming a Nation, drawing upon the Old and the New Testaments for the application of today. And that part 2 will actually be tomorrow, as we lay some of the groundwork about the transformation. And then tomorrow the topic is collaboration and how they very uniquely and ideally fit together. So we can come back tomorrow for the second part of it. So let's just start and look at a couple key words to define some things. Just literally, what is a nation? We can look at some of the textbooks or what the dictionary says about it. In Spanish, we call a people or the people group pueblo. In the Bible, specifically in the New Testament, the Greek, we'll see the word ethnos, which we derive the word ethnic and ethic. So it's about a people's ethnicity. It's about the values and customs and things that they value that brings and unites a people. So we're not just specifically talking about the political boundaries of nations, but particular people groups. We also can look at it as being defined as a culture, looking at societies and cultures. And that starts even getting a little more specific on what people venerate and commonly share as their values and what's important to them. Tends to group people together. Again, kind of ties in with what their ethos is, their ethnics, their ethics, their values. And I also want to look at some subgroups. Of course, a nation, a society, a culture is very, very large. But as we know, all nations or cultures are made up of individuals. And so things, they begin small, but then we build upon it. So obviously we got to start in transforming people. Corporately, people group themselves, and we have different kinds of institutions or assemblies, be it churches and schools and different professional work circles, up to kind of the next level as being communities. We have the traditional definition of a community being, a particular geographic area, but I'd also like to offer a definition of community as a vocational or a professional circle of people. So we can have a community of business people, and we have communities of school teachers and administrators, and communities of pastors, in an interdenominational fashion. So our society, our nation, we can break down into communities, into institutions, and to the individual. And we'll obviously be looking a lot of that at an individual level. So Nehemiah. The Old Testament is very rich. There's a lot to draw from. The two books of both Ezra and Nehemiah, they go very much hand in hand. It's a fascinating book. I don't know how familiar you all are on it. But what do we find in the situation? This is the time setting is we've come to the end of the 70 year of captivity in Babylon, and they're ready to start returning back to Jerusalem